It's Tuesday, August 25th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. As Canada imposes counter-tariffs, maritime businesses assess the impacts. One of the biggest names in entertainment, Dolly Parton, has died. We'll take a look at her life.
Warm again tomorrow with a bit of humidity. The chance of a shower or thunderstorm will be highest in eastern areas of Nova Scotia.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Nice to have you with us. Well, today, Ottawa swung back. The federal government revealed counter-tariffs on billions of dollars of U.S. exports, things like smartphones, appliances, seafood. There was also news of financial support for businesses. New Brunswick's premier says she'll still be deciding the best course of action in the coming days. CTV's Anna Madden reports.
Retailers. While the federal government has outlined its retaliation plan, New Brunswick's premier is still weighing her options, including using energy exports to the United States.
Things would have to get really bad because that's an extremely serious measure to turn the power off to a community in northern Maine that have been our friends and neighbors for generations.
Instead, the Holt government is considering other, less severe options to respond to President Donald Trump's tariffs. Everything from not allowing Americans to hunt for moose or fish salmon to no longer sending packaged lobster south of the border.
We have a lot of tools in our toolbox to bring to the negotiating table to get the kind of deal that we believe is right for New Brunswickers and for Canada.
Meanwhile, Holt says early estimates suggest 500 New Brunswick jobs alongside $112 million in New Brunswick goods will be affected by U.S. tariffs. The province has money set aside for businesses that will feel the impact, but she's not yet sure whether it will be enough.
We're going to be there to support companies as they need it. So if we go through the funds that are currently put aside and that requires us to look at more, then we'll do that.
In an interview yesterday, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston said his government is committed to supporting businesses while expanding the province's markets to make it more independent. And federally, Ottawa announced today $7.5 billion in tariff support, alongside the dollar-for-dollar tariffs on $27.6 billion in American goods.
Canada must respond, and today we are, in a proportionate, targeted, and strategic way.
As the nation responds to what has been a series of unprecedented changes in the Canada-U.S. trade relationship. Anna Madden, CTV News, Fredericton.
The fallout from a collapsed trade deal has maritime businesses preparing for what may come next. CTV's Nick Moore reports.
With prospects for a Canada-U.S. trade deal all but dashed for the foreseeable future, Mrs. Dunster's, which is based in Sussex, New Brunswick, has been getting ready for whatever direction the negotiations went.
I've been down to Mexico a few times trying to open up some opportunities down there. And we're also always on the lookout for potential acquisition opportunities. So it's really not about shrinking our U.S. business, because our U.S. business is pretty robust right now. But it's really about making sure we're not overly dependent on it.
Mrs. Dunster's co-owner, Blair Hislop, says Canada is rolling with the punches as best it can.
You know, you're happy to negotiate a deal in good faith, and you're happy to negotiate a win-win. But every once in a while, somebody comes along who just wants to push it even further, and we've all walked away from deals like that. So yeah, we support, you know, the current government and what they're doing.
Moosehead Breweries in St. John says the decision to target Canadian beer with a 50% tariff creates an immediate and serious challenge. The company says it will not shift production to a U.S. plant to bypass duties. In a statement saying, "We've been selling Moosehead in the U.S. for almost 50 years, and we've built an incredibly loyal American customer base. But navigating a 50% tariff puts a massive burden on our ability to compete fairly in the U.S. market."
We're at the bottom, obviously. We're into mudslinging. This is not what we planned for.
Ron Marcolin is the Divisional Vice President of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters and says while the trade deal falling apart in the 11th hour was disappointing, there's a little more predictability in the short term with today's announcement of $7.4 billion in federal support for businesses and workers.
We know the relief measures are very targeted, will help bridge the gap. That's a very good and positive thing. And we also agree with the retaliatory tariffs. We have to do that. We're forced to do that. But it's very important that Canada stands up and does that.
An elbows-up approach as the trade war deepens further. Nick Moore, CTV News, Sussex, New Brunswick.
A 68-year-old man has been arrested and charged with burning down a century-old church on the Acadian Peninsula. Gilles Mallette of Saint-Simon was identified by RCMP as a suspect in that arson that destroyed the historic church in the community near Caraquet. Early Monday morning, firefighters arrived at the building engulfed in flames. It took hours to put it out, but at that point, the church was gone and 4 other buildings were damaged. No one was injured. Mallette remains in custody and will have a bail hearing in Bathurst Court that is expected to happen on Friday. Nova Scotia RCMP are on the hunt for a 37-year-old male suspect from Weymouth after an alleged robbery, kidnapping, and stolen car in a rural area. Police say the victim, a 24-year-old man, was sitting in a vehicle with 2 women when a man with a gun got in, forced him to drive to an ATM, withdraw cash, before fleeing in his vehicle. The 2 women were charged. Every moment matters when fighting a fire, so when a Halifax fire truck has trouble getting to a downtown blaze, well, naturally, that creates concern. An incident yesterday illustrates the problem. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness shows us.
The sight of fire trucks stopped on Argyle Street caused concern for those who live and work in the area. Even more troubling, they couldn't get to where they had to be.
Eventually, they decided they did need to get their trucks in closer to actually deal with this situation.
Jeremy Webb took video from his office on the 2nd floor of the Neptune Theatre yesterday afternoon. It shows firefighters working to open a gate on the pedestrian-only street. They were responding to smoke at a restaurant.
When they arrived, it was probably about a minute or 2, a couple of minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time.
Turns out the incident was minor, but others with businesses on the street wonder how important those extra few minutes would have been if the fire was more serious.
It's concerning because for big, fire vehicles, we have a lot of bars and restaurants on the street, and they need to get down here quick. We're very fortunate that the incident at Taipan was so resolved so quickly.
Yeah, all you can see, there's a pin and a lock right here.
The CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission says firefighters have a key to that lock, and the closing of Argyle Street was approved by first responders.
The vetting of the whole street design, when it was done in 2016, would have included fire and police and all those other city departments as well. So they did sign off on it at that time.
McKinnon also points out the south end of the closed-off sections of Argyle Street are open. He says a debrief to discuss yesterday's call will be held with Halifax Fire if they think one is necessary. CTV News reached out to both Halifax Regional Fire and the union for comment, but did not receive a response by news time. And Todd, city staff is currently looking at a proposal to make Argyle Street pedestrian only year-round. Now, if that happens, those who live and work in this area would like assurances that emergency vehicles will have easy access. Todd.
Yeah, no doubt they will. John McGuinness in the Bar District in downtown Halifax this evening. Thank you for that, John. There's some good news in an annual report on back-to-school food prices. Dow's Food Lab found the cost of 45 items were lower than a month ago and could drop more through the fall. But as CTV's Avery McRae reports, they are expected to jump again before Christmas.
Ask anyone who has been to the grocery store of late, and they will tell you your dollar isn't going as far as it once did.
I mean, a Costco trip we're lucky to make it under $300 now, so it used to be $200.
It's pretty stressful, but me and my wife didn't get by.
Believe it or not, some food prices have gone down over the last month, according to a new report from the Dalhousie Agri-Food Lab. It found in July a basket of 45 various food items cost $269.51, while that same basket in August is only costing just over $262. That's a drop of 2.8%.
Grocers were very aggressive with promotions, which is certainly good news, and we're expecting the same for September.
Which times well with kids heading back to the classrooms. The report looks deeper into the cost to fill an average school lunch bag and common items found inside to help parents plan for the fall.
We all know that food inflation has actually made a lot of households fall behind a little bit, and just making sure that people have proper tips in order to fill lunch boxes as efficiently as possible.
Outside of orange juice, which is spiking in price, 11 other products have dropped or seen no change in price month over month. Now, those prices do slightly vary around the region. In Moncton, those 12 items would cost a parent $54.99, the second most expensive mark in the country. Charlottetown finds itself in the middle with a cost of $54.29, while Halifax is among the cheapest at just over $52.50.
We've actually seen new stores, and that brought more competition, and that's probably why prices are much lower.
But those prices won't be around for long, which is why Charlevoix urges parents to know their prices and be flexible to get the best deals. Todd, later this year, grocery prices are expected to climb again due to the holidays and things like produce not being as prevalent with the changing seasons, among other factors. The biggest of which surrounds the ongoing trade turmoil with Washington, because as Charlevoix points out, trades tend to keep food a little bit cheaper, Todd.
And we'll get Sylvain's take on that when he joins us a little later in the show. Thank you, Avery in St. John. This is the CTV web poll tonight. We're asking you this. Does your grocery bill increase when your children go back to school? Yes, no, or maybe you don't have children. We would like to hear from you. And as I mentioned, report lead author Sylvain Charlebois, who you saw in Avery's piece, will join us later for more on the impact of the tariffs on food. And you can vote for the poll at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. And on the subject of food, this is proving to be a good growing season in the Maritimes. After last summer's drought, conditions have been favorable for a bumper crop in fields and orchards. CTV's Brianne Foley shows us.
Though some may be less than thrilled at the rainfall in the region over the last few weekends, those that grow feel the opposite.
We are not complaining in the apple industry at all. Yeah, we're celebrating.
We love the rain on weekends, especially Sunday. You can have great naps when it's raining on Sunday.
Apple trees and apples are growing significantly better than they did last summer.
We've had nice, consistent rainfall amounts every few weeks. We've been getting a good rain, which has been great. We're still seeing some trees struggling from last year and the extreme drought conditions that they faced. Overall, we are seeing a big rebound, and we're really, really happy with what we're seeing on the trees.
Last year's drought caused smaller apples and bigger budgets.
What really held our farm back was just the continuing pumping of water. So a high diesel bill, like the bill of like having 4 or 5 people every day, like dragging pipes around and fixing pipes and pipes blowing up and pumps going down, all that kind of fun stuff just added to the expense of the apples. So that just reduced what we could possibly make.
Impacting other sectors that rely on local apples.
Even just the availability of local apples throughout the length of the season, right? We can pretty much supply Nova Scotia grocery stores with Nova Scotia apples for a full calendar year.
So while weather has been good for the most part, Mother Nature isn't always perfect.
Sunrise, unfortunately, it got hit with hail this year, but it's still very tasty. It still has the same taste, even though there's a couple little spots on it.
Now, most of these apples are about 3 to 4 weeks away from showing up in your markets and grocery stores, but given the size of them, yes, Nova Scotia farmers are optimistic that this year will be plentiful. And Olton reminds you, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Brianne Foley, CTV News, Wolfville, Nova Scotia.
All right, there's a look at Truro at 13 minutes after 6 o'clock. 25 degrees. It is warm and some blue sky there as we bring in Kaylin Mitchell for the first look at the forecast.
Yeah, but some showers not too far away from Truro. But that's the way these type of weather days go in the Maritimes. Todd, you know, one area gets a shower or a thunderstorm, and just down the road, it's some sunshine and a little bit of a warm, muggy feel to the air. Let's take a look at what's going on radar and satellite. A little bit of good news when it comes to the thunderstorms. They have shown some signs of weakening. We've seen The severe thunderstorm watch has come to an end. That was expected. This type of weather today was basically driven by the daytime heating. So as we're starting to lose that now into this evening, the thunderstorms, the showers, they weaken, they subside, come to an end. Now, there is still a risk that we could see a couple of thunderstorms in northern western areas of New Brunswick over the next couple of hours, just because there's a lot of thunderstorm activity right now, closer towards the St. Lawrence River Valley, as well as back through the state of Maine. Checking in on temperatures around the region, noted that it's a warm evening. Most of the temperatures are around the low to mid-20s. There is some lingering humidity in the air. It's not as stifling as it was Sunday into Monday, but it's enough to give us some humidex values, making it feel into the high 20s and low 30s. If you're wondering where we're headed as far as humidity goes this week, it's going to be at a slightly muggy level over the next couple of days. It does increase Friday into Saturday with the arrival of the next weather front, and that's because that is expected to bring us some rain and some showers. Then it falls off again through the weekend. Checking in on the winds right now around the Maritimes. They're mostly light and mostly out of a southwest direction. They're being sustained in a lot of cases, 10, 15 kilometers per hour. Not much happening in the way of wind gusts. I did want to take this time to quickly update on the tropical Atlantic. There are two areas being monitored. One is being given a relatively low chance as the south of the Maritimes is developing. 40% chance. What it's mostly doing, though, is contributing some moisture to rain in Newfoundland tonight. And then another area off the coastline of Africa, that's being given a higher chance of developing, about a 70% chance over the next 7 days, Todd.
You've almost forgotten about hurricanes this summer, hasn't it?
It's been quiet so far. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
That was expected, though.
Okay, we'll see you later in the show for the full forecast. A popular beach in the Halifax area has closed for the season over concerns of a possible blue-green algae bloom. Kearney Lake Beach is now closed for swimming. Halifax Parks and Recreation says all swimming lessons have been canceled. People are warned not to drink the water or eat fish from the lake. The beach typically has guards on duty until September 1st. Here's a new one. RCMP in northern New Brunswick are looking for help finding a stolen cabin. You heard right. Police say this was taken from a rural road in Kedgwick at the end of June. There's no word on how it was taken from the property. As you can see, it's got a metal roof and board and batten siding. If you see the cabin, police ask you to give them a call. We have an update now on a story we aired last night regarding the state of Halifax's ferry service and the mayor's interest in a new boat. His motion to get more information about costs survived a 10-5 vote today in council. Andy Fillmore says Halifax has had 5 ferries since 2018, while the population has grown by 100,000 people. The mayor warns losing 21% of crossings over a few months has become unacceptable given the demand has increased. More information is due back to city councillors by the end of the year. Still at City Hall, councillors are trying again to get provincial approval of a 30-meter buffer for coastal development. The Nova Scotia government scrapped the Coastal Protection Act more than 2 years ago and put onus on municipalities to address the issue. CTV's Emma Convey has the details.
Halifax Regional Municipality has 400 kilometers of coastline. The changing landscape, coupled with coastal erosion and storm surge, are a few reasons why Councillor Nancy Hartling wants change.
This is an environmental risk. This is a safety risk. There are many, many, many good reasons to advance this today.
She brought a motion to council today, wanting to write a letter to the province requesting it to reconsider the 30-meter coastal buffer policies. Their first attempt was denied by the Municipal Affairs Minister, citing reasons around impeding housing.
I think that we've already heard from industry. UDI has already written a letter saying that the 30-meter coastal setback does not impede housing.
Everyone except the mayor voted in favor of the motion. He says he wants to hold off until there's more information to understand environmental impacts and benefits of wetland buffers, while still providing much-needed housing.
If we just go back to them now, as a result of this motion, with really no new data, no new information, and just sort of repeat the same request, I don't expect a different answer.
The supplemental report coming to council will look at more as what would the impact of potential housing be. I think it's fair to say that we all know that there is no new housing that will be affected.
The province shifted coastal development responsibility to municipalities and property owners in 2024, sparking many protests. The Ecology Action Centre says a 30-meter buffer is a step in the right direction, but they want it to go even further.
Different types of rock erode faster, or different types of coastline can erode faster than others. Some coastlines host rare species that deserve a little bit more buffer space. So it is situational. This 30-meter buffer is intended to actually be a compromise between industry and environmental standards.
For now, they'll await word from the province. Emma Convey, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
You'll remember Dorothy followed the yellow brick road in Oz. In downtown Moncton, pedestrians have long taken the red brick sidewalks. But decades of wear and tear have taken their toll. Soon they'll vanish, replaced by something new. Here's Derek Haggett.
They've been a fixture, quite literally, of downtown Moncton for decades. But brick by brick, block by block, the city's sidewalks will change over the next few years. Moncton City Council approved a plan last week to replace the red brick sidewalks.
It's really reached the end of its life cycle. So what we want to do is start replacing blocks of Main Street, and we're looking at a multi-year project.
Not all sections will be replaced, but those in the heart of Main Street will, in a multi-million-dollar project. One city councillor says it's long overdue, but understands there is some nostalgia for the bricks.
But the reality is, with the kind of weather we have, the winters we have, they just haven't stood the test of time. And the reality is they've become very uneven. Accessibility is a huge factor today as we have an aging population.
More durable concrete blocks with different shades of color will be installed. Welcome news to many.
It's hard, especially in the winter months when it gets icy and you have any place where it's sloped down, then it's horrendous.
The only problem is with the brick is that if we get freezing rain, it's really slippery.
It's a memory from childhood, but I think it's time. We need to update and make it more user-friendly or walker-friendly.
The project should take 5 to 6 years.
We definitely don't want to replace, the entire section of Main Street in 1 year. It's too much work, first of all, but it's also a big impact for our patio clientele.
There will be new trees and streetlights installed too. The tentative start date for the first phase of the project is September 14th, and the hope is that'll be wrapped up by the end of October. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
We'll take a break now. You may have heard Dolly Parton has passed away. She was one of the first country musicians to find stardom in everything from pop to TV and movies in the business world. We look at her life after this.
This is your Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends, beginning in the province of New Brunswick. Campfires in Category 1 burning are currently permitted. In the province of Nova Scotia, most counties are allowed to have a campfire between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. There's a few exceptions. Annapolis County, Kings County, Cumberland, Colchester counties, and Pictou County. There, campfires only allowed between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently allowed, with domestic brush burning permitted between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. Be sure to check in on any municipal bylaws and restrictions as well.
What couldn't Dolly do? From writing hit music, effortlessly crossing from country to pop, she was a movie star, TV star, business mogul, philanthropist. Dolly Parton did it all with style and a smile. ABC's George Pinocchio looks at an amazing life.
Dolly Parton was on the showbiz clock for more than 60 years. Making her mark took time, talent, and tenacity. Dolly was born in Tennessee's Smoky Mountains in 1946 in a two-room cabin, later memorialized in an album. The family was so poor, her father paid the doctor who delivered her with a sack of cornmeal. You wrote a song about it.
I wrote a song about Dr. Robert F. Thomas was a mighty, mighty man.
She got her start writing songs, one of the many things we discussed when I had the pleasure of sitting down with her for a long interview in 2023.
When I was 7, I got pretty good on the guitar, and when I got pretty good on the guitar, then I got pretty good at writing songs.
She sure did. At 21, she was invited to appear on Porter Wagner's popular TV show, and a star was born. So was a partnership. Her duets with Wagner filled the country charts, but soon she began having solo hits, including an all-time classic.
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
By then, Dolly was ready to set out on her own. She wrote Wagner a farewell song. It became a massive hit. Twice. By the mid-70s, Dolly had become more than a country star. She had created an image for herself that became her signature.
Here you come again.
That song made the top 20 on the pop charts. Then Hollywood came calling.
That's why these people treat me like some dime store bluesy.
In 9 to 5, Dolly co-starred and held her own with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. The movie was a massive hit, and oh yeah, the title song, written and sung by Dolly, went to #1. More movies would follow: The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Steel Magnolias, and more hits. And then there was Dolly the businesswoman, amusement parks, makeup, fashion, a line of cake mixes. Along the way, she won too many awards to count. She told me that the one that made her proudest of all, the American Songwriters Hall of Fame.
When I got put into the Country Music Songwriters Hall of Fame, that was a big deal. But then I got put into the big one, up there with the big guys, the biggest of all, the Gershwins and all that.
She received an Oscar, the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, and it was well-deserved. Among her many charitable ventures, a $1 million donation that helped develop the COVID vaccine, several $1 million for disaster relief after the Tennessee wildfires, and her imagination library, sending free books to small children around the world. As of today, more than 300 million books and counting.
My own dad couldn't read and write, and that's why I got involved in this, because I got my dad involved with me, and he was so proud.
In Hollywood, George Pinocchio for ABC News.
She wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You in the same afternoon. Weather is next. It will be a foggy night for many of us. Some sun and warm temperatures tomorrow, though. Kalen's full forecast is next. Buffering.
To be fair, there's been some active weather in the area.
Well, we can tell you it is actually 23 degrees in Summerside. Boy, there were some big rumblers in Prince County today. Now,
yeah.
Did Summerside get hit, or did it skirt around?
Yeah, one of the bigger thunderstorms that I saw today in the Maritime region moved into Prince County between 2 and 3 p.m. off the Northumberland Strait. Looks like it came in just to the west of Summerside, but close to locations like Tyne Valley, for example. Definitely looked like it was packing a downpour, though, and maybe even the potential for some hail in it. Then it moved north Prince Edward Island up into the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Let's take a look at our weather systems map right now and just talk about the pattern. We're a little bit unsettled here in the Maritime region with those pop-up showers and thunderstorms because of that trough in the jet stream that's hanging over us out west. It's all about that heat dome. They probably wish that would kind of collapse a little bit in parts of BC. early so they can get out of some hotter, drier conditions and over to some cooler, wetter weather to help out with some the wildfire situation. But as you can see right now, it's plenty warm. Vancouver, Victoria, and into parts of the interior of BC. Prince George sitting at 28 degrees. Very warm temperatures as well into the prairies. We've mostly got mid-20s there. Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg. Up in the north, 15 at Whitehorse and 18 degrees and sunshine at Yellowknife. 8 degrees with some rain right now at Iqaluit. Warm temperatures down through southern Ontario, and that, of course, is extending to us here in the Maritime. St. John's today has been warm. It's been humid, and it's been very wet. They've been contending with some rain like what we saw Sunday into Monday, and some special weather statements out for eastern areas of Newfoundland where some totals could reach 20 to 40 millimeters. Now, tonight in the Maritimes, Todd already mentioned this, but some fog expected to develop once again. And that'll mostly happen towards and after midnight. This is just sort of the visibility outlook in around the Halifax area. You can see visibility coming down during the late night hours, remaining a little bit lower into early tomorrow morning before visibility begins to improve. So any remaining showers, thunderstorms in the Maritimes this evening, they come to an end, and they are replaced by that fog developing overnight, which will be around for morning commutes, very early morning commutes tomorrow morning, and then it will dissipate. And after that, sunshine, very warm temperatures, and tomorrow the chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm is a little bit further east in the region, mostly into Kings County, Prince Edward Island, and the eastern half of Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton. And hazards with any thunderstorms that do pop up would include downpours and lightning. A lot of low temperatures tonight for the region. Will be around the mid-teens, and a little bit cooler than that up in the northern half of New Brunswick. They're low to mid-teens. Highs for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, mostly between 23 and 26. Central and southern parts of the province with high temperatures around 24 to 27 degrees, so very similar to today. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures around 23, 24 for most communities. In Cape Breton for tomorrow, the high temperatures 22 to 25. Around the east of mainland Nova Scotia, high temperatures around 23 to 25 degrees. Northern and central parts of the province, high temperatures tomorrow around the mid-20s, but once again feeling close to 30 with some lingering mugginess in the air. Same thing goes in the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. High temperatures around 25, and high temperatures in the south shore of Nova Scotia. Well, 26 for Shelburne and Liverpool. Slightly cooler at Yarmouth and Barrington, closer to 21. In the extended forecast, we're going to hold on to the warmer weather through Thursday. The next weather front arriving with some rain and some showers Friday into the start of the weekend. But in behind that, actually, this last week in August looking pretty decent here. So for New Brunswick, there's the showers arriving with the front on Friday, and then behind it for Saturday and Sunday, high temperatures, low to mid-20s, mix of sun and cloud on both days, comfortable levels of humidity. Fair to start next week on Monday with a chance of showers on Tuesday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, warm, slightly muggy conditions hold on through the end of this week. The front with the showers mostly arrives Friday night, and then with a little bit of luck, it'll clear through by early Saturday morning, leaving us with a mix of sun and cloud in the weekend forecast and the start of next week, and then a chance of showers on Tuesday. And similar timing for Prince Edward Island. So the next couple of days looking pretty nice. At the front with some rain and some showers, looks like it's mostly going to be a Friday evening, Friday night thing, and then in behind it back to some pretty fair weather conditions for Saturday, Sunday, and into the start of next week.
All right, that looks good. Thank you. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, we'll be joined by Sylvain Charlebois to talk about food prices for the fall and how tariffs could impact your grocery bill. Stay with us.
Okay, so coming up on the show tomorrow, another chance to get off the magnetic world.
Yeah, that's all week, right around 7:30.
We'll also have details on how you could win a weekend pass to Somo Fest.
Students will be heading back to class soon, and parents will once again be packing lunches. Dalhousie University's Agri-Food Lab has produced its annual survey of prices of top items that often end up in lunch boxes. Sylvain Charlebois, of course, chair of the Dal Agri-Food Lab, and we've reached him in Montreal. Hi, how are you?
Good evening, Don.
We're going to get to the report in a second, but look, I got to ask you about these reciprocal tariffs. The federal government has now targeted a number of U.S. items, including some food products. What could that mean for shoppers here?
So if you go back a year, more than a year, we heard then Prime Minister Trudeau announced that Ottawa was going to apply counter-tariffs on $30 billion worth of products, including many food products. Those measures at the time had 5 times more of an impact on food prices than what we're expecting for this round. I thought the measure or counter-tariffs are measured, targeted, and frankly, when you look at food, other than dairy, which we don't import a whole lot of, honey, maybe. I mean, seafood is probably the one category that is going to be impacted the most because we do import for well over $1 billion worth of seafood from the U.S. into Canada every year. Other than that, actually, I thought that grocery shoppers, i.e. all of us, will not be impacted as much this time around compared to last year.
Okay, you mentioned seafood. Can you give us a breakdown of what kind of seafood we tend to bring in from the States?
Mostly salmon, I would say. Yeah. Different species, but salmon is the big one. And so obviously that will impact Maritimers. It will impact the rest of Canadians also. But as you know, Todd, I mean, basically the seafood counter doesn't see as much traffic as, say, the meat counter or other places at the grocery store. So, I mean, I think we should be okay. I mean, tariffs are a bad idea. Counter-tariffs are even worse. But if you had to counter-tariff a country like the U.S., this is the way to do it without hurting your own.
Okay. The latest salvo from the U.S. this afternoon, potentially threatening to tariff PEI potatoes.
Yeah, we're expecting something. We're expecting more, other than renaming Lake Ontario. I mean, we are expecting some measures to be implemented by the United States. When it comes to buying, and the U.S. is buying power, they can actually buy their way out of a problem. And so they can target different things and annoy us to death, but they can still get out of it. It's the same like with potash. I know that right now there are discussions about potash and adding a tax on potash going to the state. They can still buy potash from Germany, Israel, Russia, other places. It may take time. It may cost more money, but the Americans have that buying power, unfortunately.
Yeah, in the long term, this could really hurt. Okay, let's get back to the matter at hand, and why we have you here today, and that's because of this back-to-school report. Your team looked at a shopping cart of 45 items. Before we get to the prices, how did you decide what products to include?
Well, we basically looked at what's convenient, what's popular. We did talk to a few retailers asking them, no, this time of year, what are parents looking for? And those are the items that we actually selected. And of course, we needed the data to actually add these items onto the list. So that's kind of how we did it. And of course, we used both Statistics Canada data and our own data coming from grocerypulse.ca.
And it looks like a bit of good news, bad news?
Yeah,
prices
absolutely.
Dropped a bit?
I don't know if any of your viewers actually noticed, but this summer was not too bad for Atlantic Canadians. I mean, we've been hammered in recent months, but this summer has been not too bad. Prices actually did drop for many categories in August. We're expecting the same scenario in September. So more good news starting the school year for parents and kids. But in October, things are going to be a bit different. We are expecting vegetable prices to increase. Vegetables were affordable this summer, not so much in the fall. We expect that also the meat counter to be still a bit of a problem also for pork, chicken, and beef as well.
Is all this contingent on the specter of more tariffs?
Actually, well, I mean, today's news is a bit of a relief, to be honest. We're not expecting that particular measure to impact food inflation. It may be 0.1%, Todd, maybe. Yeah. Last year with former Prime Minister Trudeau, we actually saw a difference of 0.5% in food inflation as a direct result of counter-tariffs. We're not expecting that this time around.
Okay, we'll take that bit of good news. I always ask you this. Is there a particular spot in the grocery store where one might find the best deals?
Well, if I'm thinking of a school lunch for kids, I'm thinking turkey sandwich, with Boston lettuce, not romaine. Romaine is getting more expensive. No tomatoes. Tomatoes are getting more expensive. Maybe with some carrots and hummus, so you can dip your carrots, and of course, an apple. Apples are going to be cheaper this fall.
Yes, and we saw earlier that this is a very robust growing season for those fruits in the orchards here in the Maritime. So that's great.
Nova Scotia. Oh, absolutely. Take advantage of them.
Okay, Sylvain, thank you very much. As always, we'll see you when you're back in the Maritimes.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your newscast after this. In health headlines, details of a study that suggests the way patients write messages to doctors might influence the reply. CTV's Amanda Debison explains in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
More doctors are using online patient portals, and researchers have some tips to increase the chances your message is seen. A new study in the U.S. looked at more than 3 million patient portal threads. Researchers found that patient portal messages directly addressed to the doctor were more likely to get a response. Also, messages with expressive punctuation, like using multiple exclamation marks, also got better response rates. Many providers would suggest clear, concise messages, but in the study, longer messages were more likely to get passed along to the clinician they were intended for. The study was published in the journal JAMA Network Open. Finally, the new school year is fast approaching, and experts say it's worth easing kids back into a routine to get a good night's sleep. Preschoolers should get up to 13 hours of sleep, while tweens need between 9 and 12 hours. Teenagers do best with 8 to 10 hours of shut-eye. To get back on track, experts recommend setting earlier bedtimes a week or two before the first day of school, or gradually going to bed 15 to 30 minutes earlier each night. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
With Aaron and Peter. Hey, if you like to play the $1,000 Minute, get ready, because we're going to start playing it twice every weekday.
7 a.m. and 8 a.m. every weekday starting in September, the $1,000 Minute.
Unfortunately, the business report is not available to us tonight, but here's a look at how the markets fared. Beginning with the TSX, it finished up 243 points, closing at nearly 37,000 points. The Dow Jones Index in New York, trading day, closed down there, 160 points to the better, to end the day at 53,000, thereabouts, a little over. And the Canadian dollar has changed very little today. It sits at just over 72 cents U.S. Let's go outside. Kaylin Mitchell is on the weather deck with one more look at the forecast.
Yeah, I guess we're into the final days of August, so I figure I should take advantage of these August evenings where I could be out here without a jacket. This is one of those evenings here in the north end of Halifax. Let's take a look at a picture for tonight, though. We did have some active weather in the region today. Look at these dark clouds. This is in the Moncton area, and this was probably part of the same thunderstorm that eventually crossed the Northumberland Strait and made its way towards Prince County, Prince Edward Island. This was sent in from Karen and James Neary. I want to thank Karen and James very much for sending that in. Tomorrow, I'm not expecting a shower or thunderstorm for Moncton. It should be a pretty warm day with a high temperature around 26. Some fog in the morning and then a mix of sun and cloud in the afternoon. Morning time around the Maritime region, temperatures fairly mild. There will be some morning cloud and fog. The fog will be dissipating as we head into the afternoon. We'll see some sun. And like today, it'll be a pretty warm late August day for most of the region. There will still be a chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm, though for tomorrow, it's mostly going to be around eastern Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Let's find out what's coming up on your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, On the Run. With the new school year ahead, Suzette Belliveau brings us easy meal ideas from our partners at Crisp Others the whole family will surely enjoy. Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us tonight, yes, it was so good last evening. We just had to show you more from the robot games underway in China. First up, a tug-of-war involving two teams of robots. It's the first time the humanoid games have included a tug-of-war competition. Gee, you don't say. Apparently they had a lightweight and heavyweight division. We're not sure who was declared the winner. And yes, of course, you had to have breakdancing because it's just not the robot games without it. The competition continues in China, and we're all the better for it. That's our look at the day here at home. Bruce is back here at 11:30, CTV News Atlantic.ca, and the app has updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you back here tomorrow night. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.